So this week for the transit weather, January 11th through the 16th, the sun is in gate 61 and the earth in gate 62.
These two gates make up the cross of the Maya, which we'll talk about. And 61 is this, there's going to be a lot of pressure this week. There will be pressure to conceptualize and to inspire, essentially, to receive inspiration, to see it. Did I receive it? And there'll be pressure placed upon what details do you have backing it up. So let's add that into the mix.
All right, well said. So this week, the sun in 61, this is a head center, and this is about inner truth, right? This is this pressure to think and ask questions. And the earth in 62, this is about having the details to back it up. Like Danny said, this is a throat gate.
Yeah, and this throat gate is the direct talker for the 61 that's here, but we'll get into more of the details as we get into the descriptions of the line. 61 is after something very important. It's in a very important spot in our global incarnation way through this universe, so I can't wait to talk about it.
All right, perfect. So diving in, the sun in gate 61, this is inner truth or the gate of mystery. This is the awareness of universal underlying principles. It's a head gate and it's part of individual circuitry. So individual think empowerment, and it's part of the knowing circuit. Gate 61 links up with gate 24, which is the gate of rationalization, and these 61-24 make up the channel of awareness. Gate 61 is the pressure to know, to unravel the mystery, and to inspire with unique moments of absolute recognition. Knowing moves us toward deeper levels of self-acceptance, where we can embrace what distinguishes us from others. And you love spending time musing and mentally delving into the unknown.
It is that pressure to know the unknown, and it's the only gate in the head center that gets its commensurate ceremonial nod of having an awareness, the awareness of universal underlying principles. This is not an awareness center, but this gate acts as if it is. Essentially, that's how come it's so potent. It's pointing at the return. It's polarity on the other side that would want to, it's harmonic gate on the other side that would want to keep returning to help that mystery. And 61 itself has moved all the way down in this basic, what's called a global incarnation cross, of the cross of planning into the first line, which is occult knowledge. They're dying, and it's a pressure to dying to get at the occult bottom line truth of everything. So think about this. So this week there is a pressure to get to the meaning of it all. And we just came off of the struggle that was worth fighting for into the thing that's worth being driven for. And so this is all to be summed up in a way of what does it all mean in the now? That's where we're at. You're going to find things that mean something in the now, and they will have a profound impact. What mysteries will unfold this year is part of the contemplation for this series leading up to the Human Sign New Year.
Perfect. Moving forward, the earth is in gate 62. This is the preponderance of the small and the gate of details. This is caution, patience, and detail produce excellence out of limitation. It's a throat gate, part of collective circuitry, collective think sharing, and it's part of the understanding circuit. Gate 62 links up with gate 17, the gate of opinions, and the 1762 make up the channel of acceptance. Gate 62's voice says, I think. It's designed to name, concretize, and communicate a visual pattern, selecting and organizing details as facts to better understand and explain complex concepts or situations. Gate 17's ability to structure the concept and Gate 62's supportive details make these concepts tangible, meaningful, and understandable, so they can be repeated and tested over time.
Yeah, 62. So this is an interesting time of year, these 3 weeks or so, 3 to 4 weeks from this gate, from the gate before, because each of these oppositions are in different circuitries to one another. They're just so, this is like a mixing ground, part of the quarter of mutation, right? Leading up to and through this cycle of death and rebirth, the mutative way into this next quarter that we come into. And so 62, this ponderance of, I like to call it the preponderance of the great, but it's obviously this gate of details. It's a preponderance of the small. It's very much like what 26 does the taming power of the great, and what 9 do, the taming power of the small. The preponderance of the small is a great preponderance, and it's taking the small and adding all of these details to what the mystery might actually unfold. This is in direct support to figuring out the mystery, and it's foundationally set up in a routine. The foundation of this whole thing is the routine of having a daring fantasy life underneath. It's secretive. Once again, that theme comes back, and it shows up on the outside world as that which you could almost fantasize about. It's as if this gate has a direct connect to 41, which it's only a week away from. So that's 62 and its great details. It will always show up with tons of details. Watch out for being a motor mouth with this gate. Just watch out for having opinions that aren't necessarily so. They're not always rounded out. The mystery is not always solved. Let the opinions aid the mystery. Don't let the opinions and the 62 details suddenly become truth that hasn't gone through the mystery factory yet.
That's interesting. Yeah, I loved when I learned that the 63 and the 4 and the 1762 is basically the scientific method. It's like the scientific process.
Totally.
I just thought it was fascinating because the 63 is asking like why, right? It's curious and asking why. And then the 4 is offering a possibility, like, I don't know, maybe it's this, maybe it's this, maybe it's this. And then gate 17 starts presenting a hypothesis to test. And then 62
with all its heavy business, 17 is like the heavy one in all of it. It's like, I got this job to do and it's an opinion. You better like it,
And then, the 62 in trying to formulate it and express it out the throat is offering all these details to like answer the hypothesis and work that together. I just thought that was really interesting when that was like explained to me in that fashion.
This polarity guarantees the sharing of the details, but not any set of details. When you let yourself be you, this opposition guarantees the sharing of the details that help solve mysteries. And so it's a way to funnel it into like knowing, is it too much or not, just for your own self as you're listening to this. It's too much when it's not aiding in a bet. Not that it's too much, but it's there to aid in a bet, 61. Very much so, to support it.
Cool. All right, Incarnation Crosses for this week. First up, we have the right angle cross of the Maya. These are inspired thinkers who must use their mind in service to others in order to avoid going mad by trying to know the unknowable. These are people looking for universal truths and facts and details to resolve the questions of life and death. Then we'll move into the juxtaposition cross of thinking. These are intelligent people in pursuit of knowledge for its own sake, who take personal, detailed insight deep enough to change what is known and accepted. And then finally, we'll move into the left angle cross of obscuration. These are individuals whose inspired knowing, the obscura of inner truth and universal principles, can bring out details about absolute and universal laws which might otherwise be missed.
Yeah, the obscura is funny because ultimately, with all those details going on, think about it, and the maddeningness of the mystery, they will get into like the most obscure things sometimes. So it's up to them to know, in this cross, it's up to them to know when to share or not, really, if you think about it. But I always like this incarnation cross of the Maya. The Maya is those are the floaters amongst the people. I mean, the Maya means the all. The Maya is the sea of people, is the majority of our Maya here on planet Earth. And so they're the floaters amongst the people. They're always the floaters. It reminds me a lot of the 4 ways. It's the floaters amongst the people. They're constantly in and amongst all of the people, and they become great influencers amongst all the people.
Cool.
Yep.
All right. Finally, we have the hexagrams for the week. So first up, we have the sun in gate 61, which is inner truth, and it's wind over lake. And the image reads, above the lake is the wind, inner truth. A noble one deliberates over legal proceedings and delays executions. The wind reaches and influences everywhere, always bringing new messages of change. The open surface of the lake, stirred by the wind, is constantly in motion. As the lake doesn't set hard into a final shape, So the noble one is slow to take irreversible decisions. To be true, she stays fluid and open, allowing herself to be moved by changing circumstances and new perspectives.
It sounds like the lake is a common theme between the last round of gates in this
Because
one.
the bottom trigram is lake.
Yeah. So what the wind is that thing that you can't hold on to, like the mystery itself, and this inner truth that can only get got to until you get to it, it ain't there, is the thing. And so that's the wind. Don't be afraid of the wind, but the wind is anchored by the lake. I like this. This is good.
It's fun. And then next up, we have the Earth in gate 62, which is details, and it's thunder over mountain. Oh, the title for 62 is small exceeding.
That's so funny.
It's almost like
Well,
an oxymoron or something.
yeah.
Small exceeding. Yeah. So the image reads, above the mountain is thunder, small exceeding. A noble one in actions exceeds in respect. In loss exceeds in mourning. In spending exceeds in economy. Distant thunder is heard far over the mountains. A noble one's actions rest on a firm knowledge of limits, but also go just a little beyond them, like the soft sound of thunder carrying beyond its origins. He will do more than is expected of him to honor a transition, paying careful attention to what is irreversible, and exceeding what might be considered sufficient and sensible in his response. So he shows more respect for all involved, mourns the losses more freely, and also takes more care over expenditure, making provisions for the future.
These provisions, that sounds very logical. It's a very logical process. This is 62 culminates the manifesting of the logical process, like you said, of the scientific process, literally.
Mm-hmm.
And the thunder is the details, and the mountain is the taming of them, the riding the details down the mountainside until you get to the bottom. That's how I see this hexagram in that description coming out. I thought the beginning was just so fitting. It describes it entirely. It's like the small, and this is the taming power of it.
Perfect.
Yep.
So, how do we tie this all together for our viewers for the week?
Well, I mean, taming all of these details is a lot, and this power that we have to pressurize this getting out of mystery is don't get lost in the details this week. Don't get lost in them, just like in a meditation, you don't get lost in the thoughts. So you let all the details start to fly through, they're going to fly through. The chances of you having a defined throat are so high, they're not guaranteed, but they're very high when this Sun Earth opposition is here, because it's just one more gate for definition. So chances are you'll have a defined throat if you don't already. Just don't get lost in the details is my thing. Let the mystery be a mystery until, like the mutative pulse, it shows up. So surrender once again to win. You can't control it, right, Moni? It shows up. It's the mutative pulse, pressure of the mutative pulse. So
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, on our New Year's series that we did talking about the differences between standard New Year and human design New Year, then this one I had labeled as like the time for mental clarity and like creating the linguistic pathway, right? Because last week it was about, what's getting you excited, right? What's getting you ambitious? What's that new cycle to begin? And then with this one, it's like you have this individual inspiration pressure coming down and then the details, right? So maybe, I always like to look at the earth first. So it's like grounding ourselves in these details that might be coming through, right? So we've had that ambition build up. We've had that root pressure of what's getting you excited, what's worth fighting for, the week prior, what's provoking you. And now it's like, I don't know, how is that individual pressure to know a mystery or understand yourself, right? It's individual circuitry. So it's this individual transformative pressure. And then like, what are the details coming in? Like, don't get lost in them and don't get lost in the opinions of it, but you can also enjoy them a little bit, like what details are coming through that might be interesting ways to answer these questions of what's getting you excited for the new year as we're getting closer to Human Design New Year on January 22nd. So I feel like there's something there about it, and allowing that mental clarity to come through as it's like we're developing the linguistic pathway of like where we want to go for the next year. So it's like allow that energy to come in, and again, journal about it. What's getting you excited for the new year? What are you looking forward to, without getting lost in trying to make it happen, but just allowing those things to filter through and see, how it links up in your body, and where you're going to be going the next year.
Yeah, and if you recognize that you don't yet know where it's all going to bring you, don't sweat it. Don't sweat that you don't know. If you recognize that you don't know, recognize that the awareness of this process is showing up, and wait. Because again, this incredible clarity that comes from the intuitive knowing that shows up, um, it shows up. It never doesn't. Just wait for it, because something will start to really break. It'll be an aha moment, by the way. It'll feel quite stunning. Um, that's the thing to run with. And you'll know your strategy and authority will light up. So
Perfect. All
look
right.
for it.
Well,
Yeah,
yep.
that's this week. Look for it.
Yeah, check it out. Enjoy it. Thank you to all our viewers. Thank you for everyone liking and commenting and subscribing and participating. We love doing this. We love sharing it with you. And we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week.